But going back to the wartime again, when they used to build these MLs in mine layers and that out at West Quarries, they used to be brought down to the bridge, and the higher side of the bridge was all half underweight kegs of iron there, hundreds of them, and they used to put them on board the minesweepers to keep them nearly scraping the bottom, and then as the tide would be just starting to come in, the minute they would start to float, they'd have pulleys and pull them under the first arch to get them under the bridge, because if they were fitted out with their deck houses and all that lot, they'd never get them under the bridge.
Right.
So they had to do it that way.
Yeah. Was that Pape's boat?
Pape's, yeah, it's Pape's now. Yeah. As I was saying just now, from the bridge down to the harbour office was all galvanised sheds wartime, and the roof was just overhanging the quay a bit, and there'd be minesweepers and that brought down under there, and then there'd be men working on them, putting all the equipment aboard before they took them to Plymouth to use them. In the war, the Germans would come down, as I said, lighting up Plymouth with bombs and that, and in and out, they would think they would try and sink the boats, like, the boats are the big naval boats, because in the afternoon while it was daylight, they used to bring some of the big naval boats around Head and anchor them in underneath, close to the land as they could get, down around the land, that they hid them away sort of thing. Yeah. Well, one night they came out and dropped a 1.5 ton landmine, but they dropped it on Looe Island. And they thought that the next day it was on the radio that the Germans had successfully sunk the battleship St. George. Well, they dropped the landmine, bumped right on the top of Looe Island, and broke every bit of glass in Anafor. All the houses in Anafor, all the glass was smashed. Everything broke to pieces. A tidy bump that was when they done that. Nobody weren't hurt, like, but that was what they'd done, and they thought in their minds that they'd sunk the battleship St. George, but they hit the island. But that was about that, like.
Was there anyone living on the island at the time?
Pardon?
The sisters weren't on the island at the time, were they?
No.
At that time? No, that was later, wasn't it? A man called General Rowlands, he bought it, and a local man called Theo Matthews used to be out there as he's looking after and gardener for him. Right. Going back again now to the fishing part of it, when we were summer drift netting for pilchards, the sharking season, the sharks started coming to Looe, and that's when you had some odd visitors come down to go to catch them. Well, what the nets that we had all in, if you didn't get the fishing net aboard and out of the net before daylight would start coming, the shark would rip your net to pieces. You'd have hundreds of holes so big as a football bite through the net. Like. What we used to do, we would go back on the stern of the Eileen and put a 10-foot length of rope out with a bit of wire and a hook on the bottom end, tie the top end a bucket on there with another bit of rope to the boat, and then you carry on doing your work, pulling the pilchards and that aboard. All of a sudden the bucket would start rattling. Then you'd have to go back aft and sort the shark out and then carry on again. That was the only way we could try to keep it a bit from having everything ripped to pieces, like, The damage they'd done was nobody's business. And that was where Jack Bray and Frank Oskin, they sort of come in on it. They bought fishing rods, reels, etc. And it was a very good living, like, for a lot of fishermen, really, that was semi-retired, and they took people out sharking and that. The Eddystone was absolutely full of big pollock. We used to, sometimes you catch 8 or 9 sharks, and I'd had enough of that. So on the way coming in, you'd stop for half an hour by the Eddystone, and you could catch 40 or 50 pollock, all great big ones. All the fish then were 8, 10, 12, 14 pounders. And if it was a windy day, fairly bit of wind, you'd see the man on the top of the Eddystone with his kite fishing for fish as well, for pollock. He had a kite he'd let out, and on the end of the kite
would be a clip, a clothes peg or something such as that, and his line would be down in the water. When he'd get out to where he wanted to get, he'd jerk, pull the kite in, and then he had his line out fishing, and they would catch quite a few big fish like that.
Yeah.